Hello my beautiful watchers. Okay, I swear it was not my intention to turn my channel into the romance and questionably romance book review show. I actually provided my beloved patrons with several options for the subject of this episode, but I guess the title of this particular novel was just too alluring to pass up, so here we are. How to Date Your Dragon is a 2018 book by Molly Harper. It's the first of currently 3 books known as the Mystic Bayou series. It is a shifter romance novel, which, unless I'm very much misled by my research, is a popular type of paranormal romance for people who want more than just sexy vampires, and yet more sexy vampires. If you're not familiar with it, the name will hopefully make a little more sense to you after you hear the general description of this book. Harper appears to be a pretty successful figure in this genre, as she's written over 30 books themed around it in the last 10 years. She's certainly an efficient writer, if nothing else. She's also contributed significantly to the sea of sexy vampires, and yet more sexy vampires books. First things first, I just want to confirm in no uncertain terms that this book has zero connections to How to Train Your Dragon, either the book series by Cressida Cowell or the DreamWorks adaptations. The title is pure... Is there a word for clickbait that refers to things that don't necessarily just exist on the internet? Well, it's that. Which is kind of a shame, because this is legitimately a good book that I think deserves better than a dumb parody joke that forever leaves it in another, completely unrelated book's shadow. My initial assumption was that this was probably the result of publisher interference, as I have a few author friends who have had bad experiences with demands made of them regarding their covers and titles. However, looking at some of the other novels that Harper has put out, it's possible she just has a really quirky sense of humour when it comes to naming her books. As I said, I think this is a really good book, and it's the first of this recent batch of romance novels that I've been working through that I genuinely enjoyed reading despite my self-confessed lack of interest in the genre. So much so, for once, I'm not going to give a full synopsis of the plot because I don't want to discourage anyone from reading it for themselves. I will, however, provide a setup and vague overview so I'm not just randomly judging things with no context. However, before I start, I would like to give absolutely no trigger warnings at all, because for the first time in a disturbingly long while, I'm reviewing a book with lots of sex but no blatant consent issues. I can't fully express what a relief that is. I've personally observed that modern fantasy stories set in the real world tend to fall into 2 categories. Either magic is an unrealistically well-kept secret to all but a chosen few, or the slightly less common but increasingly popular, the abnormal is just normal now. How to Date Your Dragon occupies a sort of middle ground. In principle, it falls into the former category, as the world as a whole is not aware that magic shit exists, but in practice it actually contains more tropes associated with the latter, because the story takes place in a small town where literally everyone has been in on the secret for centuries, and it's nothing new for the 2 point of view characters. Basically, there's no Harry Potter seeing Diagon Alley for the first time style scene, which is both good and bad. I mean, that's a good way of introducing the new world to the audience, but on the other hand, you don't have to wait for the lead to get used to this reality before the main plot can start. Here's the basic gist. A minuscule percentage of the world's population are shifters, magical creatures like unicorns, kappa, phoenix, and dragons who can change between their true form and their human form at will. Yes, sorry to disappoint anyone who was secretly hoping this book was going to be about a human fornicating with a giant lizard. There's actually a joke referencing that in the story. For quite a few years now, a secret government organization, because there always is one, made up of humans and shifters known as the League, has been helping keep things quiet, but it's generally accepted that due to increasingly advanced technology, this is probably not going to go on for much longer, as, in the book's own words, the Loch Ness Monster can't hide from Google Maps forever. In preparation for this big outing, the League sends one of its up-and-coming field researchers, Gillian Ramsey, to Louisiana to do an in-depth study on a town called Mystic Bayou, a small community that's been a harmonious mix of humans and shifters since the olden days of America, to get a feel for how things are going to be for everyone soon. Ah yes, the American Deep South, a place well known for its tolerance and acceptance. I'll come back to that. On arrival, Gillian meets a variety of friendly and colourful people of literally all shapes and sizes who are super sweet and welcoming to her. One of the only people she doesn't really get along with is the young and shockingly handsome police chief Baal Boone, so... take a wild guess who the love interest of this book is. Yeah, one of the thankfully few negative things I have to report is this novel's adherence to the super tiresome trope of the love interest not getting along at first and being in denial about their feelings for each other. I have truly come to loathe that cliche in my time as a book reviewer. Getting back to the more positive, I'm delighted to say that this book utterly failed to bore me at any point, whether it was in the world building, the character arcs, or the plot. Speaking of, it does appear that in addition to being a romance novel, How to Date Your Dragon is also a murder mystery. Better yet, these elements of world, characters, and plot are much better integrated and balanced than most books focused on romance I've come across so far. I got the impression that Harper was genuinely interested in the universe she was creating, and the plot did not simply exist to provide a convenient climax at the end. While the book does fall into some romance cliches, it actually manages to acknowledge and deconstruct others. For one thing, the League is super aware that their agents are going to want to fuck the shifters. They don't even pretend to not know that the paranormal is sexy as hell. It's not illegal or even outright taboo, but there is apparently a long history of humans who date supernaturals coming to a sticky end, so there's basically low-key abstinence classes that are about as effective as the ones forced on teens in human society. Another of the minority things I didn't like about this book was the dreaded but oh so common jealousy being presented as romantic. Right from the start, Bael is grumpy as hell whenever Jillian talks to any other man, and it gets even worse when her ex sends her gifts in the mail. Jillian sort of calls him out on it, but not in a actually having any consequences that he would learn from sort of way. It actually gets so bad at one point it was giving me low-key 50 Shades of Grey vibes, which is a horrible thing to say about a book I actually liked, I know, but it was just something that Bael said, something along the lines of, "I'm not prepared to share you," that really set off my past trauma of reading those awful, awful books. I did eventually forgive it though, because this book also includes a very satisfying scene that could almost serve as a how-to manual for dealing with creepos in public. Bael has an evil cousin who decides he wants to claim Jillian for himself and tries to corner her in a supermarket and invade her personal space while saying very inappropriate things. She starts the conversation by keeping her voice down, but then realizes that this benefits only him, so loudly and clearly tells him in no uncertain terms that she's not interested, bringing the attention of witnesses to the conversation. Then, when he ignores her warnings not to touch her and tries to verbally and physically threaten her, she hits him with the taser to the groin. I was also very pleased to read that Jillian has a ridiculously healthy relationship with her roommate and best friend Sonia. Sonia is attractive, talented, charismatic, and intelligent, but this inspires only admiration from Jillian, and their friendship is based on mutual respect and support. I can't even remember the last time I read a romance novel with a legitimately loving platonic friendship in it. I mean, I think this is what Kate was supposed to be in 50 Shades of Grey if E.L. James didn't have negative figures writing talent and a deep hatred of other women. We learned that one of Jillian's character traits is being a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and I was like, oh boy, 2018. To quote my friend, that movie chick, that reference didn't even get a chance to age badly. I thought that I was going to be able to describe this book as sort of a sexless True Blood, but no, there are only 2 sex scenes and they start quite late in the game, but they do get it on, and it is, creative. He may not use his full dragon form, but Bael is not opposed to using his shapeshifting to spice things up a bit. I also really liked that the dragons of these books are like super old school fairy tale dragons, i.e. they have a fixation on compiling a hoard of gold and other shiny things. The first sex scene actually takes place on top of a pile of gold, like Scrooge McDuck's favourite porno. Harper used the term gaslighting to describe Jillian's ex, which kind of made me nervous as a lot of people misuse that word, but after I read the description of his behaviour and actions, I'm fairly confident in saying she knows exactly what it means. I would be kind of amazed if it turns out that guy isn't based on a real person. So, as I hinted at before, I couldn't help but notice that the Mystic Bayou is a somewhat idealised version of the American South. Lots of courtly manners, small town ideals, and large parties that the entire neighbourhood comes to, but no suggestion of any racial prejudices whatsoever, either towards human minorities or shifters. I'm definitely not saying that all small towns in America have a racism problem, as that would just be a crass generalization. It's just that the picturesque nature of this little society is so extreme it's hard to miss, especially when other authors writing about similar geographical settings use supernatural desegregation as a direct metaphor for racial issues. In counterbalance to this surprising shallowness, the book shows an interesting deep political understanding of the pros and cons of an organisation like the League. It straight up directly points out that even if the League is working in the shifters' best interests at the moment, it can still never be a good thing that a group that is in no way elected has complete power over the people it governs. But that said, the book doesn't completely villainize the League either. Maybe that will happen in the sequel, I don't know, but for now I am impressed to see a book that acknowledges an imperfect system but doesn't feel the need to fix it all up with an immediate solution. The climax, when the bad murderer attacks, comes and goes pretty fast, and there's some plot threads left unresolved for the sequels to pick up, so the ending is not the most satisfying, but I think it's good enough. All in all, Molly Harper is definitely a talented writer in my opinion. She's creative, conjures good imagery, conveys emotion, and creates likeable, relatable, three-dimensional feeling characters. I was was going to say that she's slightly better at writing for women than men, but then I remembered that she did not in fact write a man, she wrote a dragon, so I don't actually have much point of reference for judging him. I will admit that it's possible that some of my positivity towards her is due to the palate cleansing she provided me after the unfortunate string of boring, depressing, or genuinely incompetently written books that I read before hers, but I don't think that accounts for all of it. Also, the thought did occur to me that my enjoyment of her work isn't necessarily a sign that people who usually like romance novels will love it. My appreciation for it could be due to it being such a good romance novel it can appeal to people outside of the usual fan base, or it could be due to it leaning so far away from the usual romance novel format it actually wouldn't appeal to the usual fan base as much. If you have any insight into this, be sure to let me know, I am definitely curious. So yeah, good book. I will put links to it in the video description. Sorry that this is a bit of a short episode, my beautiful watchers. It turns out positivity doesn't flesh out the word count the same way rage or disgust does. I shall, as always, leave you with the usual reminder that YouTube's algorithmic-based method of reward and punishment makes jealous dragons look like no big deal, and the best way to help people trying to make a career on this site is with the good liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon. Much love and appreciation to my patrons of honour, Shelby Hotes and Matthew J. Brish. Hello again, my beautiful watchers. I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a quick reminder that there's a wonderful website called Patreon that's been allowing online producers to actually make a living doing what they do, since apparently YouTube's decided that they shouldn't anymore. Basically, they offer the chance to pledge a certain amount of money per month or per video in exchange for various rewards offered by the creator. There's a variety of stuff you can earn by becoming one of my patrons, including early access to all videos and taking part in that survey you see at the start of every Lost in Adaptation episode. That's actually a very important part of the process, as I use it to gauge how much I'm going to need to explain about the book and the film before I start comparing them. If you decide to become a higher level contributor, your name will be added to the credits that you're seeing right now, and you'll be given the option to join my private chat room so you can regularly talk with me and other patrons. If you're keen enough to join the topmost tier of patronage, you'll earn the most coveted of all the rewards, the chance to pick a future adaptation to be reviewed by yours truly. However, if right now you are thinking, my goodness the Dom, I can't do that. A mysterious but handsome wizard wearing sunglasses informed me you're spending the money on a cannon designed to allow you to shoot puppies into the sun, and I have no reason to assume whoever that was making it up for his own amusement. Fear not, it would still be a huge help to me if you were to give that like button the old clickaroo, share this episode on social media with perhaps a little recommendation to your friends to check it out, and subscribe if you've not already. It really helps my channel grow and reach new beautiful watchers. I hope you have a most pleasant day, and I will see you in the next episode. The neighbours upstairs are being quite noisy, which is disturbing because I live on the top floor. Questionably romance with books with you, Sue. Good start. Ugh, I hate tea. You're gonna be quiet, Soteria, or do we have to throw you out? We both know it's the latter option, but we have to go through the motions. She's certainly a... Soteria's playing with my Phantom of the Opera mask. You're not helpful, buddy. Town by the name of Mystic Bayou. Bayou. It's definitely Bayou. The book series by Carissa Cowell? Why does my brain always go blank when I see a name for the first time? It must be a dyslexia thing. Small community that's been a... Hi, Soteria. Hey, buddy. Ugh. Hey, Floofball, how you doing? Genuinely enjoyed reading despite my self-confessed lack of interest in the genre. Damn it, lunch alarm. Lots of courtly manners, small town... Damn kids and your skateboards. Use supernatural desegregation. I knew that word was gonna get me. Cleansing she provided to me after the unfortunate... Gosh damn, my writing's bad on this one. And now it's the dinner alarm. I've been at this for a while. A balance was reached that I ended... Oh, I already said balance. Gosh damn. Could have done a bit of a longer proofread on this one, I think. Oh, fuck you, tea. Why do you have to be so good for my throat, but so bad for my taste buds?